when I was meeting with the team yesterday, I was talking to the team, and we have this really popular uh, sort of Black health trainings thing that goes on with Dr. Christina Parks. Now, if you remember, Dr. Parks was the really impressive sister. She has a PhD in molecular biology from the University of Michigan, and she gave some of the most extraordinary testimony ever in front of the Michigan House of Representatives right in the middle of the pandemic, at a time where dissenting opinions weren't even being heard. And I'm not here to really tell people what they should think about the pandemic. We talked about that before. It's more so a matter of just saying that I think all the ideas needed to be on the table, and I didn't feel like they were. Well, Dr. Parks gave the amazing testimony, and her commentary went super viral, maybe 10 million views or something like that. And Dr. Parks is actually in a part of the Black Business School, so she comes in and does things related to Black health. And so one of the things we were talking about was we were saying, in the Black Business School, how do we really sort of, is talking about health related issues kind of outside the mission of the school? And I said, I don't think that it is because we know that health is wealth. And in fact, health is more important than your wealth because if you lose all your health trying to go make your wealth, then you're going to lose your wealth trying to get your health back. So if you don't take care of your body, if you aren't doing what you need to do on a daily basis, then you're going to end up, it's going to be all a waste of time. You're going to end up like a hamster in a wheel. If you remember the four big rules of wealth that I mentioned to you all in terms of how to obtain wealth is one, awareness of wealth. You have to have financial awareness in terms of knowing where the money's at. And then number two, you have to make a plan. If you don't make a plan to obtain the wealth, then you won't get it. Most people who say that they're struggling or they're poor, I would say, well, what is your plan to obtain wealth? How much have you? How much time have you spent studying the landscape of economics and money to know where the wealth is at? Like if you're hungry, then you got to study where the food is at. If you want to learn how to go to a Beyonce concert, then you got to get online and find out where the Beyonce tickets are being sold, right? And so, give me a guess if you know what I'm talking about. And so the thing about it is, if you don't have wealth and you haven't spent any time sort of studying it, you haven't spent any time learning the rules of rich people and where the money's located and which professions and which products and which businesses generate the most income, then you're probably not going to have much money, right? It's all very logical if you think of it that way. So the four rules of wealth are learn where the money's at. Number two, make a plan. Then number three, you have to work the plan. You have to execute the plan. You got to follow through on what it is that you put together. You can't just make a plan and not follow through. And then number four, this is what the big one I was getting to is that people forget is you got to protect that wealth. And the ability to protect your wealth is really interesting because a lot of people think that protecting wealth might be just insurance policies or maybe it's diversification strategies or things like that. And I think that all those things are important, but really wealth protection, I want you to really think about this in a broader sense. I want you to think of wealth, protecting your wealth as literally looking at risk in a certain way. Because risk, what is risk? Risk is basically the chance that you're going to lose your money. Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. So risk means, what it means. You've always known what it means to enter into a risky situation, right? You know what risk feels like. Okay, so risk is anything that threatens your wealth, right? So to me, wealth protection isn't a specific skill or a tactic or something you put on a checklist. Wealth protection means looking at anything that puts your money at risk. Anything, anything, anything that can cause you to have more money on Tuesday than you have on Thursday, right? Anything that puts your money at risk um, is a factor that you have to think about. And that could be everything from, if you're a guy, getting a bunch of babies mamas, that'll put your wealth at risk, right? Or sleeping with women that you don't know, and one of them accuses you of something you didn't do. Well, that puts your wealth at risk. You end up looking like Bill Cosby, who's going to lose $500 million from, his interactions with various women, right? Or Jonathan Majors right now, what he's going through with his crazy situation and domestic violence and all that. And so I would really sort of think about it that way in the sense of sort of carefully processing anything that could be a threat and trying to assess those threats so that you really know how to secure and protect what you have, and you've gone through all the what if scenarios. Because I can't tell you, a lot of people think that once they made it, it's like being in a basketball game where when you take the lead, you take a 10-point lead with 10 minutes to go, and you think that you're going to win the championship now. Oh, well, we're winning now. We won, we won, we won. And if you notice, the players get excited faster than the coach does. You ever watch a college basketball game, like a March Madness game, where the players are all jumping up and down and getting excited and loose because they think that they're going to win, and the coach is really serious. The coach doesn't even smile. Well, the reason the coach isn't smiling is because the coach is an OG. The coach has seen a lot of scenarios. He's seen a whole lot more of the risk spectrum than the 21-year-old has. He's 55. He's 60 years old. So he's seen 30, 40 years of basketball. He knows all the things that can go wrong. So the coach ain't smiling until the game is over. And even after the game, he's not smiling if you still have to have another game to go to win a championship. So ultimately, that sort of wisdom and reflection is something I encourage you to have on your wealth building journey, because I don't think enough people really process that enough. And I really think that, again, this is a cultural phenomenon. Because remember, I told you wealth is culture. So I think that in Black culture, I don't think we're really trained to be proactive. We're really trained to be reactive. And reactive means that you're trained to basically see yourself as a victim, 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 victim. And when you do that, it keeps you from doing the things you have to do to prepare yourself. Because if you prepare yourself, then you lose your identity. You can't be the victim anymore if you're the one who's actually always prepared. Give me a guess if you know what I'm talking about. This is really important, because I was talking to my wife this morning as we were going to the gym. So I crawled out of the bed. I was so tired. I did not feel like getting up, but I did it anyway because health is wealth, and I don't want to. I want to take care of my body, and I want to form good habits. So we're sitting there. We're talking about some of these celebrities that have been reporting abductions. There's some pretty prominent celebrities. I can't remember the names of all of them. I put some of it on my Instagram, but there was a couple of them that were saying that they had a daughter. One of them had their daughter that was almost abducted, and she started talking about sex trafficking and how big that is. A lot of people don't know how big it is. That it's big business to go and kidnap women, especially Black women. Black women are I think they make up 40% of the sex trafficking victims, and they because nobody cares when Black women get kidnapped. And they were basically kind of warning everybody. So I was talking to my wife about it. I said, look, we got daughters. They're beautiful. Let's just make sure that they're aware of what's out there so they don't learn the hard way. And I remember we were talking about that, and I said, one of the hardest things about doing something like that is that people think that you are being alarmist. When you talk that way, and I said, no, I said, really, I'm not being alarmist. I'm being proactive, right? I would rather have them understand in advance than to learn after the fact or to become a victim after the fact. And I don't think that that sort of investment in preparation, which is almost like a type of psychological insurance or structural protections to ensure that you're okay. I just don't know if that's always thought about, in our community as much as we might need to. I know fear is a big part of our culture, but I don't know if sort of proactive, sort of protecting yourself, or if you take a risk, making sure it's a carefully calculated risk. All these things should be in your family culture when you talk about wealth. So when you go read the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, my new book, this is all about shifting the culture. Okay, so I want you to always be thinking about wealth as a cultural phenomenon. Yeah, so Jan, thank you for reminding me. It was T-Boz. How can I forget? T-Boz is my cousin. So yeah, T-Boz from TLC. But there was another one recently, just yesterday, and I know Egypt Sherrod, another woman that I'm connected with on Instagram. She has a lot of followers, about 1 million followers, and she said something about it. So it's just one of those things, right? And so really, so what's the next thought that was on my mind today? One thing I wanted to kind of cover with you guys real quick. And by the way, I wanted to mention, don't forget that Thursday we're doing a stock options training camp. So if you'd like to join us, it's going to be 2 days. We're going to be Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, the 30th at 8 p.m. And then we're going to meet again the following Thursday. So it's a 2-day training camp. where I'm basically going to break down stock options for you and get you started. If you're nervous, I'll show you how to buy your options and everything else and how they work and the fundamentals. You'll have enough to be off to the races and everything else. Now, if you're in the Prime program, you will have the information. I'll send you a link where you can join us for free if you're in the Prime program already. If you're not in Prime, then just go to my website, boycewatkins.com, and the link is right there at the top. And you can feel free to join us in the options training camp. But I was thinking today about millennials, and for some reason, God told me to do a quick little tutorial on how to build wealth as a millennial, how to get rich as a millennial. And if you want to know what a millennial is a person that is born between 1981 and 1996. So the youngest millennials are now 27 years old. The oldest millennials are 42 years old. So these are people who are hitting adulthood. Some of them are approaching middle age. So you're not young enough you're not the kid anymore. They're going to start calling you ma'am and sir pretty soon. And some of y'all are even grandparents, especially if you live in Chicago. In Chicago, we got 30-year-old grandmas and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Um, but so you're not old, you're not young anymore per se. You're not the kids anymore, but you're not old, right? You still have a lot of living to do and a lot of learning to do. So I want to give 5 quick tips on how to get rich as a millennial. So if you have a millennial in your family, maybe share this information with them. Also, if you're not a millennial, then this information still can apply, though. It's still connected to a wealth lesson. So one of the first things I would do if I was a millennial and I was trying to get rich is I would sort of think about what skills do you have that will generate income for you. A lot of people think that you make money with working, and I consistently like to reiterate that working and money are not always connected. They are somewhat connected, but it's kind of flimsily connected. It's like predicting which players are going to win a Super Bowl based on how fast they run the 40-yard dash. Running the 40-yard dash can help you become a better player, but there are plenty of players who ran the 40-yard dash really fast who never won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady had one of the slowest 40-yard dashes in NFL history. So I would think about the skills that you have. And if you don't have the skills that you need, go get those skills, especially in a world where you have things like AI evolving by the second. It's going to really change the landscape, which is going to take away a lot of opportunities, but it's going to create a lot of opportunities. And so those who consistently read, my brother, for example, he's a millennial. I'm impressed with the fact that he's always reading books. He's always reading articles and magazines, and coming to me with stuff. And I remember when he left college, and I convinced him to come and stay with me when I was teaching at Syracuse University. And I said, "Hey, just come on out. I'm doing this business thing. I don't know if it's going to work, but you can come out. We can hang out. We can play Xbox or something, and whatever. And if it doesn't work out, at least we got a chance to spend time together, because you can always go back and to the corporate plantation." So, well, I remember during that time, even though he didn't go to grad school right away, he would just have this stack of books in his room, and I never told him to do it, and I was super impressed by it. And now, when I see him, he's now about 30. I think he'll be 40 this year. He's 39 years old, and he's been all around the world, and he's a millionaire, and he's sitting with these billionaires and stuff doing venture capital. And I know that for a fact that a lot of that came from knowledge he just picked up from soaking up all these books, just constantly reading all these books. So a lot, skill development, I think, is a really important part of wealth building. It's really hard to build wealth or make money if you don't know what people want, or you don't know how to either sell them what they want, or have the skills to sort of offer something that they need. Second is saving and investing early. There are studies I can show you. In fact, at some point, I'm going to bring in a graph that's going to show you how devastatingly bad it is to wait too long to start saving and investing. If you understand these charts the way I understand them, or if you trust me based on what I share with you, then you will understand. You will literally understand that your goal should be to start investing like by the age of 1, or by the age of negative 20 years old. Meaning that, and what does that mean? That means somebody's investing for you. You can't invest when you're negative 20 years old. But literally, the way I see how money grows, and how the passage of time creates such a massive wealth advantage that it's ridiculous. The more I would say it's almost like an economic life or death that you invest for your children before that they're born. If you do that for them, then or definitely while they're young, but really even before they're born, it's very easy to put them in a position where they never have to work for the rest of their life. So investing early makes a big difference. Every millennial should be an investor. Number three, multiple streams of income are a big deal. Millennials are the first generation to understand that corporations are garbage. They lie to you. They don't keep commitments like they used to. One job is about the riskiest thing you could ever do in terms of making a living. It doesn't mean that you're stupid if you're in that situation. It just means that it's risky, right? So one thing that you do when you're in a risky situation is you do things to minimize the risk. One of the ways to minimize that risk is multiple streams of income. So that term, multiple streams of income, should just be part of your family culture. It should be something that you're talking about with your family on a regular basis. Frugality, I think, is a really good concept to understand too. I think if you are a young person and you want to be rich, I would say that you should understand that the reason rich people stay rich is because rich people kind of hoard things. They buy assets, they accumulate those things, and then they don't sell them. They don't give them away. They take control of property and businesses or whatever, and they don't give up those things very easily. Money. Anybody seen that video where it's circulated all over the internet? How many of you have seen that video where it's like the first version I saw was Larry Moe and Curly. But they did another one. John Amos and his sons did another one where there are three guys sitting there, and one guy says to the guy on the left says the guy in the middle, "Hey, you owe me $20." And he said, "Oh, well, I don't have $20, but here's 10, and I owe you 10." Give me a yes if you saw that video, if you've seen that video. So he says, so he says to the guy, so the guy, he tells the guy on the left, he says, "Well, here's 10, and I owe you 10." And the guy says, "Okay." And then the other guy on the other side says, "Oh, wait, before you put that in your pocket, remember you owe me $20." And he says, "Oh, okay, well, here's 10, I owe you 10." And then the middle guy turns to the other one and says, wait, before you get too comfortable with that money, don't forget you owe me $20. And he says, "Well, here's 10, and I owe you 10. And then the guy in the middle takes the $10 and turns to the guy on the left. Now, remember, he owed him 20, and the debt dropped to 10 because he paid him 10. He says, "Well, here's the $10 I owe you." He says, "Great." And then the other guy turns to the second one and says, "Oh, well, here's the $10 I owe you." And then the third guy says to the middle one, the original one, he says, "Well, here's the $10 I owe you." Now we're all even. Now we're all square, right? And so the caption might read something like, "Well, here's how the banking system works." So think about this. Here's just in case you didn't follow it. What happened here, right? The same $10 was used to pay a total of $60 in debt. You sat there and watched a $10 bill work itself around the room two times to pay off $60 in debt. How in the world does a $10 bill repay $60 in debt? So some people think that's just BS. Like, oh, well, this is how the banking system works. Anthony mentions fractional lending. Yeah, that's part of it for sure. We can talk about that. That's actually, there's nothing scammy about that. Actually, that's what money does. Money circulates. That's what the Fed works to do. They put money out there, and they say we don't just want to put money in people's pockets. We need people pulling that money out of their pockets immediately, so that those same little dollar bills are getting plenty of action, plenty of activity, plenty of work, right? So it does see it's very funny. It's very interesting to watch, but it's not scammy. The Jewish community does it. The Asian communities do it. The Black community. Some Black communities do that. They'll circulate the money. Buy black. That same $10 will go to pay Billy, which will pay Cindy, which pays Joey, which pays Willie, which pays Jim, and each person is giving and receiving, giving and receiving, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. So here's the deal. What this comes down to is that in a functioning ecosystem, you really want to play both sides of the ball. You want to be the producer sometimes and the consumer sometimes. Sometimes you're giving money, sometimes you're receiving money, right? But the Black community, unfortunately, in the broader economic system of America, we're typically giving money and not receiving money, so we're deprived of money. So imagine if if two of the guys got together and said, okay, we're going to hook each other up, we're going to let this money circulate, but every time this other guy gives us his money, whatever he's got in his pocket, we're going to keep that money. We're not giving it back to him. So his debts are not going to be paid off. We're going to leave. Pay attention now. We're going to leave him in debt. That's Africa. That's the Black community. That's your student loans, right? We're going to leave him in debt, and we're going to pay off all of our debts, and then maybe we'll even loan him some money to put him deeper in debt. And then when he gives us that money, we're not circulating that money back. So when you have businesses that come in the Black community, when you have, the Arab shop and the restaurants and the Chinese restaurants and the nail shops and all that coming in, what they're doing is they're taking money out of your community, and they're taking that same, $10 that they took from you, and they're circulating it. Okay, Muhammad, I pay you, and Ahmed, I pay you, and then you pay Muhammad again, right? That money's circulating, which is giving wealth, because that's what money does. Money just circulates. So what's supposed to happen is that you're supposed to get mileage out of your money. You're supposed to get good use out of your money. It's like imagine if you bought a watch, and every time you bought a watch, you owned it for about 3 days. And every 3 days you bought a new $400 watch. What's going to happen to your money? It's going to disappear. It's going to go down, right? But what if you're like my dad? My dad buys one watch. He keeps the watch for 25 years because he buys good quality stuff, right? That watch, he works that watch that over, 10,000 days, 20,000 days, 30,000 days, right? So he's getting more mileage out of that watch. So your dollars are supposed to be like that watch. That money, the only reason that little game works is because everybody's playing the same game, the give and take game. I'm putting in the economy of taking. Now, what rich people do, here's what rich people do. If there's a rich guy, if there's two poor guys and a rich guy in the group, they're not going to circulate. He's not going to circulate. They're going to pass him the $10. He's going to put it in his pocket. And he's going to say, okay, well, when you pay me back my other 10, let me know. Go somewhere else and get that other 10 and then give it to me. And then I'm going to have 20. And then y'all can play the circulation game. Wealthy people, generally speaking, are very good at making sure they create what is called a trade imbalance. A trade imbalance means that I'm going to receive more than I give to you. That's or Dr. Claude Anderson wrote about it in Powernomics. He referred to it as he talked about how Africa lost so much wealth to Europe. He called it the doctrine of unequal exchange. Or another analogy is in a relationship. Imagine you're dating a woman or dating a man, and you're constantly giving, and they're constantly receiving. That's not a very healthy relationship. One person's going to be filled up, the other person's going to end up depleted. The same thing happens when it comes to economic love. So you really want to sort of look at that video and in a different way. I hope it's not like some sort of cosmic scam. It's exactly how money kind of works. The money just gets popped into the ecosystem and it circulates, and they like it that way. When they put money, when Obama put money into the economy, one of the biggest problems that the Obama administration had, if you remember, Obama took over as president during one of the worst economic situations that we've ever had in this country. His biggest problem was that immediately he and Congress went and gave $700 billion to the big banks and to big corporations. They bailed out, I think they bailed out General Motors. They went and they spent hundreds of billions of dollars putting money into Wall Street. Their biggest problem was that they forgot how rich people operate. They forgot that in Wall Street, they're not going to go and just take a bunch of that money and go buy a bunch of consumer items. They're going to circulate that money amongst themselves. And also a lot of the banks and a lot of the corporations just held on to the money because that's what rich people do. They hold on to their resources. So I encourage you to be careful about playing. I mean, I think you should play the circulation game, particularly in your own community or amongst people that you care about. But I don't necessarily know if you want to play that game too much when you're talking about trying to actually build wealth and getting ahead of everybody else. So what's another thing I would say to a millennial? You know, I would definitely ignore almost every single story that you see in the media about black people who get rich very quickly. Those stories are stupid, and most of them are not realistic at all, and they don't pan out very well. And then a lot of those people, celebrity types, they lose most of their wealth anyway because they don't know how to protect it. Because when you get it that easy, you're not usually gonna have the value system necessary to really know what it takes to really defend that kind of money. So the thing about getting rich is that getting rich quick, it feels good, but actually, if you really want to enjoy your life, get rich slowly. Because if you get rich slowly, you're gonna really, when you get to the top of the mountain, you're gonna appreciate being there. You'll have the wisdom to protect what you have, and also, generally speaking, you'll be amongst the millions of other people who've gotten rich by consistent investing. So things like the $5 a day investing plan, right there on my website, boycewatkins.com, is literally the simplest, most straightforward pathway where every single person who does it is, if you consistently do it, but you got to do it, a good 20 years or so, you're going to have more money than everybody else. In 10 years, you would notice the difference. In 20 years, you'd really notice the difference. In 40 years, you're talking about millionaire status for your family. So that's my 2 cents for any young person that might be watching. Now, what I'm going to do is look in the Q&A section and answer some of your questions. Let's see. Rarick says, I have Google and Amazon and Apple. Is that too many tech companies? No, it's not. I don't think you have too many tech companies. I think the question, Rarick, is, do you have other companies in addition to tech? Tech companies are fine. I have a lot of tech companies, but I also have companies, that are healthcare companies, consumer staples, etc. I have banks. I just bought some Goldman Sachs stock the other day because I just thought it would be cool to be a rich Jewish person for a day. And so I'm kidding. I'm being silly. But in all seriousness, though, when I see an entity that's publicly traded, that's doing well and runs a good quality business, if I find myself, really saying, gosh, I wish I was where they are. I say, oh, that's right. I can just buy stock in the company, let them do all the work, and then my family gets the benefits. So, and it's also just really fun to tell your wife, hey, by the way, honey, we now have a stake in Goldman Sachs. That's kind of cool. Like they say, well, what's your husband do? Well, we're in banking. We own gold. We own a piece of Goldman Sachs. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. And we don't do any work to make the money. And by the way, that training on how to make money without working is on boycewatkins.com. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to take a look at that. What is the Dow future? The Dow future is the futures market. So the future, okay, we've talked about options. You guys know Thursday we're doing the stock options training camp. 2 days. We're going to meet 2 Thursdays in a row, 8 p.m. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com if you'd like to join us for the stock options training camp. So what is an option? An option is exactly what you've always thought it was since you were a kid. You always know what it's like to have options. You've always known what that means. That means you could do something if you want to, but you don't have to. Or like if you're a football fan, you know what it means for a quarterback to run the option. That means he can either pass the ball or he can keep it. Right. So options are exactly what, or if you're dating, you know what it means to have options, when you're dating. When my daughters ask me advice about men, I say, well, I don't know what to do. I can't tell you exactly what to do. All I can say is that in most negotiations, the person with the most options typically wins. So I would encourage you, if you don't feel like you have enough power, just go get you some options, and then your power will probably increase. Right. So so options means that you have the right to do something, but you don't have to do it. But futures are different from options. Futures are where you have to do it. Futures are where you're making a transaction and a commitment to doing something in the future that you must do, right? So what happens a lot of times is there's this massive market of these trades that happen where people make the trade in advance, and they say, look, I don't want to buy oil from you right now, but I want to buy oil from you in a month. So let's make a deal right now on what the price is going to be when we make that trade in 1 month, right? So you have what they call the spot market, which is right now, and then you have the futures price, which is the price in the future. If the expectation is that the price of oil is going to go down, then the price that we trade at a month from now is going to be lower than the current price, right? So the futures market is it's either a source of speculation where people are betting on the direction of the price of a commodity, or it's a source of risk minimization where you are protecting yourself. So, like if you're a farmer and let's say every fall you need to buy a bunch of fuel because you have to harvest your crops or something, and you're worried that the price of fuel is going to go up. Well, you might go to the futures market to lock in your price now, or airlines might do that. Look, in the summer travel season, it's going to be really expensive to fly all these people around. We don't want the price of gas to go up, so we're going to go ahead and lock in our gas right now. So that's kind of what the futures market does. So the Dow future, Rarick, is basically the stock market version of the commodities futures market, where you can buy stock in the future, just like you can buy a commodity in the future. All right, let's see. Thomas says, "Hey, Dr. Boyce, this is not stock related, but flight related." Okay, there's a B1 black-owned flight school. Okay, Sling TSI planes. Look up Flight Academy. Look up flightacademy.com. Thank you for telling me, Thomas. I think I know that academy. There's a brother that has a YouTube channel that I think started a flight school, but maybe not. I'm looking at this one. I'm saying, okay, well, since it's black owned, let me just do a screen share and show y'all what I'm looking at here. Looks impressive. I'm almost done with my flight training, by the way. I've been landing airplanes and flying like crazy. I'm flying every single day this week. So pretty soon, y'all gonna hear me. I'll be doing my podcast from my airplane watch. But yeah, so here it is. It's called Look Up Flight Academy, and it looks super professional. So yeah, if anybody who wants to learn how to fly, it's been a really fun experience. It does take some commitment. It's not cheap learning how to fly, but I promised my mama I would do it. I wanted to do it. And my first flight is going to be to see my mama in Kentucky. So I'm doing this. I'm dedicating my flight training to my mother. So I'm super pumped about it. I'll let you guys know when I do my solo. All right. So next question is, how can 10 to 13-year-old kids make money right now without getting a job? It's a good question. Good question. There are children that have like digital businesses. In fact, we did something where we had a special training in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, where we had some young entrepreneurs come through. If you email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, maybe they can guide you to some of what was done, because we save and record everything that we do, all the special events and everything. And we had some entrepreneurs that were really making serious money, like $1 million a year, that were 13, 14 years old. I think online businesses obviously is the best way to go. I've seen people sell Amazon products. I know a young lady who's in the Black Business School who started selling makeup when she was about 11 or 12, and now she's 17 on her way to college, and she's making a few $100,000 a year, because makeup is just such a great thing to sell, makeup and hair products and things like that. So I would say that finding something that you can buy at one price and selling it for another is a good way to make money. There are some people that are, they have YouTube channels. The highest paid YouTubers in the world for a while were like, there was like a 6-year-old kid that was making 25 million a year on his YouTube channel or something crazy like that. Of course, his parents were behind that, but still, it's kind of nice. I saw Marquez Brownlee. I showed our son Marquez Brownlee. He's a young brother, very smart, knows technology really well. He interviews people like Elon Musk and stuff like that now. And I bet you he's clearing at least 10 million a year, maybe 15 million. And I try to get our son to kind of pay attention because he's a techie too, and he's into the same stuff. But sometimes it takes confidence to do that kind of thing, or and then just a heavy work ethic. Whatever you do, whatever you pick to do, I would make sure you really like it, and that you're really honest with yourself about having the work ethic to fully execute whatever it is you're trying to execute. You usually in life kind of get what you pay for. I know that I was telling you that you don't have to work to make money, and I do believe that that's true. But in the beginning, when you have no money, you may have to work to get that first amount of money to get to the point where your money's working for you. And there's a guy that on YouTube who's the one of the best YouTubers on the planet, probably the best. His name is Mr. Beast, and he's a white dude that has 140 million followers on YouTube, and he's really fascinating to listen to because this guy, he's literally said, I work all day for hours and hours and hours until the point of exhaustion. And every time I make $1 million, I put another $1 million into my next video. Now that's kind of a crazy level of commitment. I mean that's just next level, I think. But I understand it to a point, because when I was working on my PhD, it was like that. I remember when I got my PhD, there was no other African American male or female on the planet that finished that degree that year. That it was that hard to do. It was insanely difficult. And I remember getting to the point where that's what I would do. I would get up and work all day long and take naps in the middle and all the way up until I went to bed, and do that every day, 7 days a week. I didn't think about like the way things should be. I didn't do what I could do. I did what was required, you know. And so what I would encourage you to do is figure out whatever level of economic success or whatever you're trying to build or whatever you're trying to do, figure out what's required. And what you're going to find is that the more extreme the success you're aiming for, the more that's going to be required, the more you're just going to be like an alien. You're going to be different from a lot of your friends. You're going to be more intense. You're going to work longer hours and all that. And luckily for me, by the time I started doing internet stuff, I'd already been indoctrinated into a culture of extreme work ethic. So it's easy for me to sit down and do 10, 12, 14 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week for years on something that I really want to be good at. Whereas I noticed a lot of people don't ever get that, or especially a lot of Generation Zs. I feel like they totally missed a lot of the pain and the struggle that we went through that made us into absolute beasts when it comes to getting what we want. And I get it though. They're very good at understanding things that maybe we didn't learn it until later, which was like work-life balance and all that. And I encourage you to keep that in mind. But still, it kind of sucks to go through life to want things and know that you can't have them. And if you feel like if you feel like it's like trying to get on a ride. They say to get on a ride, you got to be this tall, but you're like only this tall. If you're trying to become taller, if you wish you were a little bit taller and wish, so you could be a baller, then you're going to have to go ahead and submit yourself to the idea that who you are and where you are is not enough. And you got to get around people and start following people, the habits of people that are doing enough for you to be the person that you're trying to be. If you want to really be that person, if you really want to achieve that goal. Or you could just, lie to yourself, and that's not fun, because then you're just always sad because you want to accomplish things and you can't have it, and it just makes you mad. And I don't want to live like that. Either I want it and I'm gonna pay the price, or I don't want. I'm not even gonna look at it. Like you walk in the store, either I'm willing to pay the price for the thing that I really want, or I just really don't want it, and I'm not even gonna spend much time even thinking about it. Okay, so anyway, let's see here. Marquez says, is the upcoming stock options training camp the same as the passive recurring income machine course? Yeah, if you're in Prime, you can get into the stock options training camp for free. But if you're not in Prime, you can just come to the training camp. Just go to boycewatkins.com and you can join us on Thursday. It's 2 days. We're going to meet 2 Thursdays in a row. I'm going to do about 2.5 hours of just going through exactly how options work and where to buy them and how to buy them and what to look for and what to understand and how to generate income and different option strategies. So it'll be fun. You'll love it. Everybody loves it. Let's see here. Robert Bingham says, can you create a course on taxes and how to pay less as a business owner on W-2? Yeah, I got a good tax accountant. So what I'll do is talk to her and see what she can do. I know Rebecca was doing something soon. So let me see what she's where she is on that project, because I think that is something that